Today I'd like to show you a lock. It's a railroad lock. Specifically, it's Canadian railroad locks. And I'm not sure about this, but these two railroad locks come from the Canadian National Railroad, and the other one is from Canadian Pacific Railroad. And they're both identical, both manufactured by the same company, which is Mitchell out of Canada. And they appear to be lever locks, but in actuality they're not. And we'll see that when we open one of these up and take a look on the inside. These are the keys. It says Canadian Railroad on this one, and this one says Canadian Pacific Railroad, and you see the pipe keys, and that the bedding are mirror opposites of each other. One curves to the right, one curves to the left, corresponding with the keyholes in both these locks, which also curve to the right and curve to the left. I don't know whether this coincidental. They do this to differentiate between the railroads and the locks by having different keys and keyways, so they don't get them confused. But that's just a theory on my part. I don't know if that's true. Let's go ahead and unlock one of these. What's different about these is that the spring in here that controls the tension on the bolt is extremely powerful. Most springs in lever locks are about 1/2 mil or even thinner. Some of them were just flat spring steel strips of metal. Other ones are attached to levers with a small piece of spring steel that locks into the lever and gets bent against one of these posts. And they're about 1/2 mil also. And they're very light, very springy, easy to lift up with a picking tool. But the spring in these locks are 2 millimeters thick. As thick as this is right here. We can measure this out. 1.97, 1.98, basically 2 millimeters. And you can't even bend this with your hand. So the spring tension on these locks are tremendous and take a lot of force even to unlock it. I mean, not like, I'll show you. Here's a Squire 4 lever. You can twist it very easily. But this one, you need a whole lot of force. I mean, I'm pushing this really hard and I haven't gotten it open. You have to really put your back into it to get this thing to open up. To lock it, you have to do the same thing. You have to turn it clockwise and push down the shackle to get it to lock. It doesn't it goes all the way clockwise to lock or unlock it, but it doesn't unlock it going counterclockwise. So you have to lock it and unlock it by going in a clockwise direction. On these. And both these are the same, even though they have opposite keyways. They operate the same way. And also, they do have lever locks. This is also for the Canadian National Railroad. and this has 4 levers in them. It's B109, which I think is just put on by the railroad company to identify the lock. But this is not made by the same company, by Mitchell. This is a Yale, and this Yale is made in Canada, or was made in Canada. And it also uses a pipe key to open it up. But it is a lever lock. I don't have the key for it, and haven't been able to pick it because I don't see a bolt down at the very bottom to tension off of. I'm assuming that the levers are what throw the bolt, that they're attached somehow to a locking pawl up here, so when the key is rotated, it moves the locking pawls out of the way and releases the lock. That's the only way I can think of how this works. Now here is the lock I bisected, and the key. And it is a Canadian National Railroad. The only difference between the two of these is that the dust cover is missing off of this one. That's why I drilled the rivets out and took it apart to take a look at what's on the inside of it. This little window shows the bolt when it's lifted, but you can't see it with the cover on it. It doesn't matter, but it works fine. Now to pick these things, I have a couple of picks here. One, this is 2mm piano wire. It's just a straight piece of wire. The other one has a slight bend on it, and I use the bend here to push against the bolt that's on the inside of here to release the shackle. You can also do it this way too. It goes against the bolt that way flat, and I can go this way. Both of these work during this, which I'll show you how. Try this one first. Well, I'll go with the plain one first. You have to go in the keyway next to the post. The bolt is right up here. Now there's only 3 working moving parts in this: the bolt, the spring, and a small wheel, which is down here, which I'm not quite sure why that's down there, but we'll see when we open up the lock. Now what I'm trying to do is use the steel to move the bolt over to open it, just like that. Lock it back up again. Here's the tip with an L shape on the end of it. See if we can get it to move. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. There we go. See the amount of pressure I had to put on that. It's even bent the pick. And this is 2-inch spring steel, or 2-inch piano wire, which is what basically the spring is inside. And we'll take a look at that right now. Take it apart. They're fairly tight. you have to be careful with the spring because that thing can break your finger. Lift it up closer so you can see. It's just 3 moving parts: the bolt, the spring, and this wheel here, which I'm not sure what it does, whether it helps move the key or it's part of the warding system of the lock, I'm not sure. But this spring, you can see it's the same thickness, 2 mil, and it is strong, very, very strong. I almost broke this finger because the spring slipped off of there when I was playing with it, and gave me a nice bruise on my finger. So, how it works, see if I can get in a little closer here. You can see the key goes on the post, of course, revolves around here. As you can see, it's not hitting this, so I just don't know what that is for. But the key engages into where the bolt is. See that? And what it does basically is, oops, try and keep that from coming apart. It moves the bolt, you can see. All the way over, so it does release the shackle. And to lock it back up, you have to move it back. Now the spring just broke off. Not broke off, but came off. So you can see how powerful this spring is. In fact, we'll just take it apart since we have it this way. Come back out a little bit. Here is the spring. Extremely strong. The wheel, it's an unknown purpose. And the bolt. Looks like an anvil. But that's all there is to this lock. Let's see here. Get back without trying to break my fingers. There we go. And cover will of course go on like that. But we'll get that out of the way for now. And go to our next thing. And that is making pick wires for lever locks. And these are the tools that I use. These are, some people call them bow pliers. And I found this on Amazon in the jewelry department. It's called the ring bending pliers. But it's also bow closing adjustable pliers too. They come in different sizes, but all I could find was this size. Chris Capoon recently did a video showing this tool and how to use it, the larger version of this tool. So check out his video on that, and I'll give you step-by-step directions on how to make the pick. This will do like a 1.2 and 1.4 piano wire bending. This is a larger one, very, very cheaply made. I don't recommend getting this. I recommend getting the one that Chris had. He got his off of Amazon, and it's called the PMC Bow Closing Adjustable Pliers. I think they're around between $16 and $18. This does basically the same thing, but the metal's thin and it's not as strong and doesn't bend the wire as easily as Chris's does. So I'll give you a little demonstration here of making a pick wire. What we want to do first is make a 90-degree bend in the wire, like so. That's the end of the pick, and you can trim this pick to the height you need to for your lock you're going to pick, using your tension tool. This is my homemade one. It would go in there like this, and of course the pick would go in that way, and you move the levers around. To make the handle, which is the hardest part of doing it because it's so confusing, these pliers, you can do the thing and all of a sudden you have your handle upside down because you can't figure out which way is up. But with the pick in going down, you can go to your first bend. Usually you make 3 bends. And bring it down like that is your first bend, just like the opposite end. Come in a little ways, make another bend, come in about the same distance, and you make your third bend. So you have your pick wire with your handle, and you just get a pair of pliers, and you can cut this off to whatever length you need for your lock. That's how that is done. And here's a piece of this was an ejector pin, and this is about the same thickness as this pick is. It's a little bit thicker. It's more towards like 1.5 or 1.8, but it's stronger steel. And so you need a bigger pair of pliers to bend that. And that's what these are. You have to put, oops, well, that snapped it instead of bending it. But let's see, I don't have another piece here, but I'll use this. It does the exact same thing as this does. Just will bend. Straighten this around. See, it bends it. Get it all straightened out. And there we have it, showing you the Canadian Railroad locks, how they operate and how you pick them, and show you the tools used in making pick wires. Hope this was helpful, and please come back and see me again.